Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to Dead by Daylight Alternative. What we have for you here today is the Candyman Killer, who I've thought about this for a while. I would say he would be an alternative for Freddy, maybe? Those of you who do not know the Candyman Killer, which me personally, I did not know. So when I first incorporated into this, I was actually filled in that it was an actually older movie. Alright. This movie was made by Mimi Man 3000. Same form that everything else is on. Just that Candyman Killer. We'll say Freddy Alternative for this one. The Candyman's power. Oh, before I do this, it's a very short article. I said some things, and then he responded with a fix of things that he could possibly change for this. But I'm going to go over the original, what I said, and then what he said. Also bring in the context that I had no idea who the Candyman Killer is, so it was kind of odd to me how everything was set out. But now that I'm more informed now, just gonna say anything that I said was basis off of well, me not knowing what it is. I thought it was just an original concept, so I didn't bother doing any research or anything like that. Alright. So the Candyman has 5 mirrors around the map, and he can teleport to them, which takes similar to 3 seconds. He can only teleport to a mirror 3 times until the mirror breaks and it can never be used again. For survivors, they can break the mirrors, which will take 10 seconds to break by default. And once you commit to breaking a mirror, you cannot cancel it. There's the caveat. There are mirrors scattered throughout the map, and you can leave them there. And within the 3 seconds, the Candyman comes out and could be chasing you, so you'll have to look out for different directions and also towards the mirror. Or you can take that lark if he's chasing somebody that hopefully he's not going to teleport to you and get that free hit. So it's similar to Pinhead, which as you go down you'll see that it's similar to Pinhead. But there's one small caveat to that. You cannot cancel when you're working on it, but only one mirror at a time can be broken. So at the start of the game, everybody can't run to a different mirror and then break it. And while he's teleporting through and hitting one survivor, the rest get broken. There's a block on that, so it can't be cheesed. When the survivor is breaking a mirror, Candyman gets a notification and can teleport to the survivor without the survivor knowing. Similar to Pinhead, but not necessarily. When he teleports behind the survivor and can then hit the survivor to infect them with bees and canceling the action. Now, there's 3 things I want to point out here. So when the survivor is breaking the mirror, they cannot stop the action. As the survivor is breaking the mirror and taking that lark, the Candyman can stealthily teleport behind the survivor. So he does not use the mirrors. He doesn't come out of the mirror then hits the survivor. He teleports behind the survivor, which then allows him to get a free hit and to affect said survivor. My only second question to that is, since it is an interaction, if a injured survivor is doing this and gets caught, is that immediate down or an immediate pickup? You'll just pick them up off the mirror, canceling the action, and then walking away? Or is it just going to be a hit that puts him into like a deep wound down effect? Or is it going to just be in straight down? Yeah, the teleport behind the survivors without the survivor knowing. So as long as you're looking around, you'll see him materialize. The teleport still takes, I believe, 3 seconds. However, it isn't specified here, it will be later. Once bees are on the survivor, they leave increased scratch marks and make louder noises. So, you're swatting away bees and all of that. You're going to make louder noises as you're running, and you're also going to leave increased scratch marks because you're thrashing around. Makes sense. Survivors can swat away the bees while running or standing still. Swatting the bees while standing will make the effect go away faster. So, like with the twins, I don't remember his name off the top of my head. When he's on your back, now you can still move while you're pulling him off of you. It's something along that. Now, it doesn't specify movement speeds or anything like that while you're running away. So if you're moving at just a default speed with increased scratch marks or louder noises, it'll still allow you to escape in pursuit. However, you'll be easier to be tracked. If there is, I don't know, an add-on that you can add on to make bees apply an effect or something like that, that would be a nice add-on that can they're on. I didn't read the add-ons. We may or may not get over them. We might go over them just because it's short. Alright, so Survivor goes to Mirror, works on Mirror. Candyman gets a notification, teleports behind them stealthily, hits them, infects them with bees. As they're infected with bees, they're louder and they leave, what did I say, increased scratch marks. You can get rid of bees fast by standing still, or semi-fast by running. And now we'll go over the add-ons. Add-ons, for basic add-ons, they either increase the time it takes to break the mirror, or increase the effect of the bees. Increase the time it takes to swat away a bees, increase the chance of a mirror being near a gin. Red add-ons, Honeycomb and Here to Stay. Honeycomb, when a survivor's breaking a mirror, they already become infected with bees. And when Candyman teleports behind them, they can be hit for a health state. Here to Stay, increased mirror break count from 3 to 6, but multiple mirrors can be broken. Candyman perks, Say My Name. If a survivor is out of the killer terror radius and fixing a gin, and hits 5, 4, 3 skill checks in a row, they will scream randomly and alert the killer to where they are. Be My Victim. When chasing the obsession, you move at a 7% increased movement speed and a reduced stun duration to pallets, which I'm assuming is 7% as well. Hex perk, Sweets to Sweets. When downing a survivor, you gain a token. For each token you get, you increase the progress of the entity on the hooks. I hope she likes your ideas. If you have any questions, let them know. So as this sits now, actually let's go back to the add-ons. The add-ons, which I mean this first basic add-on, increases the chance of a mirror being near a gin, longer bee duration, things like that. I just suggested something like making the bees apply different status effects. If the bees do in turn slow you down and apply some sort of base level status effect, then you can make them give them the broken status effect but run it with regular speed, or an exhausted status effect along with the bees or something like that. Just something to stimulate and move this character to actually being able to go and get what they need done. But this is my original. Keep in mind that all of this has been clarified and all of this is no longer true. But from when I said, I had a lot to say, and I preface this with, before you even read this, this is my disclaimer for you. My suggestions here are full of a lot of constructive criticism. Be prepared or skip if you can't handle it. And I think I'm going to start prefacing that at the start of everything. I also put right below it, all things here are just my opinion. Take it with a grain of salt. I'm not demanding anything, just suggestion. Thank you. Thank you. I'm not saying, hey, change this, you better change this or this. Like, no. I'm just asking questions and giving my suggestions to try and make their thing better. You don't have to listen to what I say, which most, don't. They can keep everything just the same, and I'll probably still do a review over it. It's their choice, it's their creation. That is their design. Now, I said for a killer named Candyman, which I didn't know who it was at the time, that's on me, I assumed it would be more gears toward a pseudo-clown style killer niche. But for the name, there really isn't much reference towards candy and should be reworked to fit the theme better or renamed. I had no idea that the Candyman was a thing. And I first heard Candyman, I just assumed, which is a bad thing to do, and I'm always harping over people not to assume something. But, Candyman, clown, they sort of go together, sitting at a stand, selling candy, things like that. Like, I was trying to put some sort of reference together, because, well, it's an alternative killer. But no, it's more like Candyman is more like Freddy, I would say, with all the teleporting and powers, and instead of the dream state, have the B state, things of that nature. Then I said, as for the mirror teleport power, the mirror spawns will rely heavily on RNG, or they'll just use the same placement of like the pig saw boxes, the plagues basins, things like that, making them not really worthwhile compared to Freddy's teleport ability that goes straight to gens. The demos or hags abilities that teleport or place where they're going and teleport in between, or even the nurse who can just teleport from wherever they want, albeit with a speed decrease. Not to mention that they can only be used 3 times or less if a survivor does get through and breaks them. And I said on the mirror themselves, having survivors take 10 seconds on the mirror while it not being able to be cancelled, and then on top of that only letting one mirror be worked on at a time, is kind of too much. Because if a survivor's stuck on a 10-second mirror, that's generally enough if you have somebody injured in front of you to down them and finish up a chase, then teleport away before the other survivor gets away. But it not being able to be canceled and him being able to stealthily pull behind you, if you're not paying attention, that's kind of on you, and he gets you. Or if he teleported nearby like Pinhead did, and it was just stealthy, that's kind of on you for not paying attention. But the fact that you can't cancel the action, so even if you do see it coming, you just gotta kind of sit there and take it, was kind of a toss-up. Now, I said letting the killer get the notification and then being able to teleport directly behind the survivor stealthy, getting a free hit, and infecting them whilst canceling the action, which means it'll take another 10 seconds, because it's not a continuous 10 seconds, it takes a full 10 seconds. Unless otherwise specified. But then, after getting the free hit, you get to infect them, which makes them leave increased scratch marks and louder noises. It's kind of absurd. Because you have this killer, you go out, you're chasing somebody, as soon as somebody touches the mirror, if they decide to, boom, you teleport to them, bam, you get a free hit, you get a free status effect, chase is on. If that person, has a lot of Dead by Daylight experience, and like I said, at the lower ranks, it's not going to matter as much from taking that one hit. But it's kind of like a throwaway of health state if the killer elects to come for you, or if you have somebody on their death hook and you touch a mirror to get the killer to teleport to you. You could be essentially saving somebody. And then I made a little joke by, how like when the kids are battling each other and they're selling out their moves, like, I use my laser eyes, and then they say, well, I use a laser eye shield. It doesn't affect me. And then I use a super punch, and I have super punch armor and type of thing. It's a joke. I'm jesting. Don't think I mean it any type of harm or anything to it. You know, I know what I said, and I kind of harped on his joke a little bit. I tried to smooth out the mood by making like a joke to just kind of, clear the air a little bit. Then I jumped into the perks. Say my name. If a survivor is out of the killer's tear radius fixing a gen and hits 3 skill checks in a row, they'll scream randomly and alert the killer to where they are. Excuse me. The problem I had with that is that say my name undermines and punishes the survivor for actually playing the game great. Said if he wanted to leave the perk as it is, which is fun, he should try rebalancing it to being a hex. So, there's a way to cut that off. Also, make it like the old Ruin, how it used to be. If they hit 3 good skill check, well, if they miss skill check, Gen pops. If they hit 3 good skill checks, they scream. But if they hit a great skill check in between that, then nothing happens. It gives them a way to it punishes mediocre, which is normal, play. But for the players that are actually good at skill checks and things like that, it rewards them by not punishing them. Like with Ruin, old Ruin. If you were a great skill checker, Ruin did nothing really to you. But if you were a mediocre style of player or a normal player, it would keep regressing and take longer. And then I said, if you did do all of that and counterbalanced and made great skill checks and things like that for the effectory seat to reset, you would then have to incorporate a way to make more skill checks happen. So balancing that's going to be very tough. Be my victim. When chasing your obsession, you move up 70, holy crap, 7% increased movement speed, reduced stun duration to pellets. I just pointed out that Be My Victim can be is decently balanced, but can be overshadowed by Fire Up, which I can fire up. We'll look this up. You gain a stackable 4% action speed bonus to picking up, dropping survivors, breaking pallets, walls, damaging generator, vaulting windows, all the way up to a maximum of 20%. So, I mean, you can get up to a 20% by the end on pallet breaking, which, I mean, their perk goes well with this. It does complement it. But if you don't get hit by a lot of pallets and things like that, and they're dropping them, you can just break through everything. Vaulting windows, things on that nature. It's about the same. It's not the same, but it's the same. The Hex, Sweets to Sweets. When downing a survivor, you gain a token. For each token, you increase the progress of entity on the hooks. Again, I made a joke. He missed the pun. He could have named it The Sweet Taste of Death. You get it? You know, Candyman, The Sweet Taste of Death. Funny. Anyway. So, what I asked in regards to this is it just needed more of an explanation. Because, like, Monstrous Shrine clearly has defined through the new Dead by Daylight system how fast it speeds up perks. And Sweets to Sweets is basically taking Monstrous Shrine and applying it to every other hook out there. So what I say is Monstrous Shrine clearly defines what it does per new DBD standard. It gives you percentages. And I needing more to go off of to get a real critique in what I think I'm understanding. What I think I'm understanding is someone is hooked and you down someone else, it subtracts X amount of progress off the hook survivor bar, which is what I originally thought. Then I was like, in that case, I don't see why the token system is really needed. Because there's two ways to look at that, the way it's put, which I should have said the first, how I previously thought, but how I thought now. I previously thought, which would made this perk disgusting, if you hook somebody and then you down somebody else and they haven't got the first person off the hook, the bar would just progress, and every person that you knock down would make that bar progress more and more and more and more. So it's a anti-tunneling perk that that rewards killers to go out and pursue other survivors. But it also could be considered a tunneling perk as well if used nefariously, aka the old Bubba Hook camp, and just down survivors as they go through to make the survivor progress bar go up faster. However, with the addition to the new perks that stops the second phase when a survivor gets within like 16 meters or something like that, kind of stops that. That can get you another, like, what, 30 seconds of gen work time? It's like a third. And if it was like that, it wouldn't really need a token system. You could just make it every time you down a survivor with another survivor on the hook, they lose 5% progress or something like that. 5, 8, 9, whatever it is. Then I put, now if it's the opposite and a survivor goes down while one is hooked, you go to the next phase, it is way too OP. Because it just says progress to the next. Increases the process of the entity on the hooks, or something like that. You know, you increase the progress of the entity on the hooks. Generally, in DBD terms, increasing the progress means to go to the next phase. You're increasing your progress from phase 1 to phase 2 to phase 3. That would be extremely OP, albeit hilarious for April Fool's Day if they changed it to where a survivor was hooked and you downed another survivor. They immediately go to the next phase. Like from phase 1 to 2, not 2 to 3, obviously, because that would be way too OP. But it would make people think about, you know, trading and things like that, and it'd be a hilarious April Fool's Day. But yeah, it'd be way too OP if it was ran like that. And I said if it's a happy medium, where the more tokens you get, the faster the bar drains in general, it would fundamentally make the killer a camp the hook style of killer. Like, if by design, great, but it can be coupled with the teleport system being an obvious problem of camping and farming mirrors for quick hook kills. AKA, you can knock somebody down, hook them, Sit in front of the hook that you're on, and if anybody else touches a mirror, go to them next. Or teleport to another mirror if you have like barbecue and chili or something. Boom. Teleport to the next survivor. Go, slap them, go into a chase. Mid chase, because you knocked them off that gen. Teleport back. By that time, generally the person's getting unhooked or somebody's in the area. Knock them back down, hook them again, teleport to another mirror, and just keep bouncing back and forth from mirrors to hooks till that person generally gets tunneled out and going back and forth. And since that perk increases the progress bar per time, it allows a very, very nasty type of tunneling system because you're just going to keep getting faster and faster until. Does it even say how much? Um, it doesn't say. I'm assuming that it's going to stop at like 4 or 5%. Maybe like be a victim, maybe a 7% increase in speed. Like I said, that perk generally can be used either way. As I'm going to hook you and go to the next, an anti tunnel perk, or it can be the ultimate tunnel perk where I'm going to hook you, teleport to a mirror, try and down another survivor. If I'm in a chase for too long, either teleport to another mirror and knock that survivor off, or go back to the other hook, in whatever mirror that is. In that case, you would be forcing survivors to try to break the mirror near that person in order to be able to save them. But to break that mirror, you would be stuck in place, allowing the killer to come back to you and hit you. But if another survivor in another area, like I said earlier, touches the mirror and you teleport to them, you've now lost your option of going back and going back to the other hook. Now, all of this can be stopped by adding a cooldown to the teleport power. Yes, it takes 3 seconds, but if it's 3 seconds and you can teleport indefinitely without any type of cooldown, especially when it comes to 3 gen situations and things like that, you can just teleport in. That's 3 seconds. Hit somebody off a gen, teleport to the next mirror. It takes 3 seconds. Hit somebody off that gen, teleport to the next mirror. 3 seconds. Hit them off that gen. You could probably even hit them and then kick the gen. And if you have something like Dragon's Grip on there too, for if they go back and touch it within the next, what is it, like 30 to 60 seconds or something like that, and it activates Dragon's Grip on them, now that's just an instant down and pickup. I mean, it can be used maliciously, but it also can be used non-maliciously. It all depends on the player. One thing I like to go back through is try to apply these to other killers to see if they're going to make them too OP. Fixing gens makes killers scream if they hit 3 skill checks in a row. That on a doctor, mwah, chef's kiss. Not only do you have the scream from that, by the time you get over there, you'll probably have your static discharge or something like that. I think it's called static blast. Static shot? Static shock's a superhero. Static blast. And you could easily find them again. It'd go good on Legion or any type of fast killer like Blight. But it doesn't necessarily make them OP, but it does locate survivors working on gens. SMN. That's pretty much. Be my victim. When chasing only the obsession, it increases movement speed and things like that. That would be good on, I suppose, any type of stalker killer. Like Michael Myers or Ghostface or something like that. The reduced stun duration to pallets would be nice on some killers, especially if it stacks with like lunge attacks, like chainsaw or demigorgon or something like that that can charge into a pallet and break it. If it reduces that, that would be pretty good stack on, but it doesn't make any type of killer OP. Sweets the Sweets would be very good for, I guess, a Bubba build. Because you could just chainsaw a lot of survivors, especially the type of Bubba that Hook Camp's basement. You can get a lot of, like, almost double the value of that. You'll have Sweets the Sweets coming in, plus, if you use the Monstrous Shrine, that stacking buff would be actually pretty disgusting. But this also, if you don't run Monstrous Shrine and you use Sweets the Sweets, this is kind of an anti-basement tunneling thing, because now you can use any hook to do that with, which gives survivors more options to save people off of. So it's both good and bad, which means it's balanced. Now, we talked, we had good things, and like I said, he summed things up, which I appreciate. That it's not a brand new killer idea. It's a horror movie classic, which then prompted me to look things up and to see what he was actually like and things like that. This is why I've called him a Freddy-like killer. He has the teleportation. He has the state that you can put you in with bees and things of that nature. And the whole drive would make him, well, how his character is set up makes him sort of like Freddy. Take it with a grain of salt, but sort of like Freddy, as opposed to like the clown. He's nowhere near a clown. He's more closer to Freddy than clown. And he said he thought about the mirrors more, and the mirrors respond at each gen, making pressure good with other known perks, like Tinkerer, things like that. The sound effect will be pretty loud for when he is coming out of the mirror near you, which should give you time to get away if you're in that area. Remember, it takes him 3 seconds to use the portal, so you better move fast. So now, when he's coming out of the mirror at a gen, you will now get a notification. He isn't just going to step out, which, I mean, it still took 3 seconds regardless. He would be away. It would be in a random spot. If you got a bad mirror spawn in a random spot, like I said, RNG, then that mirror basically is useless to you. So now, they brought it back and made the mirror spawn in front of gens, or by gens, but you know what I mean. But you get a notification or a sound cue whenever he's coming through, which gives you 3 seconds to get away, which is more than enough. It's like Freddy when he teleports to the generators. You have plenty of time to get away. So, I mean, that's balanced. By DBD standards, it's the same as Freddy's generated teleport. He said the mirror mechanic is not really absurd because you don't have to break it. It gives survivors an ultimatum to either get rid of the killer transportation to the gen and alert him to you, or let the mirror sit while the killer is wondering which mirror to go to, and you keep doing gens. Now, it does give you the choice to try and break the mirror, or just to work on it and hope that it doesn't happen. But at this point, why even make the mirrors breakable? Is the only thing that I would kind of add there, you know? If it's gonna take 10 seconds, and during those 10 seconds you can't cancel him spawning behind you or anything like that, and getting all of these buffs from him, I would just make the mirror not breakable. It'd just be something that's there, that he can come out of whenever he wants. Like I said, same with Freddy's teleport ability. But I mean, having the ability to break the mirror, I think is great, but I would kind of wish he'd incorporate that you keep your progress. So if somebody works on it 3 seconds and then he teleports through, they get away from him, somebody else comes through and works on it for 3 seconds. The 3 seconds keep stacking. Now it's 6 seconds of breaking. Because at the end of the day, I mean, it might be DBD and everything supernatural and all that, but it's still kind of a mirror. I don't know the specific lore behind the Candyman and mirrors. Maybe his mirrors are unbreakable or something like that, or extremely strong. I didn't look that deep. As I said, I just looked up the Candyman and seen, the basics things of them or what I needed to know. Where was I? But yeah, I mean, even if you have to increase mirror break to like 15 seconds to incorporate it, I think it should still be a progressive system to break. Um, the Hex, STS, which is sweets to sweets? Yeah, sweets to sweets. He apologized for not going into depth of what it actually does, which he explains it very well now, to the T. When you down a survivor, you gain a token. That token increases all hooks, except for basement hooks. Entity, death speed. The max is 5 tokens, which is 10%? 10% increase progress. If someone is already on the hook and somebody gets down, the progress does not apply to the currently hooked survivor unless they get hooked again. This will put pressure on survivors because the more downs, the more preference that they would have to put on finding the hex totem and not slip up and get hooked out of the game quickly. AKA, it punishes survivors for bad play. However, it's something that survivors can control. Same as with Say My Name. He said he will rework it from a bit here. If a survivor is in the killer's terror radius, they will be met with more skill checks, and if they miss a skill check, that survivor will scream and become exhausted for 5 seconds. With this, I think he might have nerfed it too far, because the original is if a survivor is out of the killer's terror radius and fixing a gen, and they get 3 skill checks correct, they'll scream. Which then got nerfed to if a survivor is in the killer's terror radius, they'll be met with skill checks. There is, I think it's overwhelming presence. That's what I think. Overwhelming presence already gives you 0. It's overwhelming presence, right? I'm not crazy? Oh, because I'm on Fire It Up. Just go to the actual perk website and not just look up a specific perk. I was actually starting to sweat. I was like, I know it's overwhelming presence, and you're actually partially stressing you out. Yeah. Ooh, nope, it's not overwhelming presence. Overwhelming presence depletes item rate. What's it called? Um, Oppression? No, 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 no. I mean, oppression is a good example. When damaging a generator, 3 other random generators also begin regressing You trigger a difficult skill check if a selected generator is being repaired. That's also another way to put that. That's one of the perks that interact with that. Um, let's look up skill check. No. I should have looked this up before, but I didn't think about it. You guys know, whenever you're in the killer's tear radius, it gives you harder skill checks. And I don't know if they're more frequent or not, but I know it gives you a tremendously harder skill check. Each time a survivor succeeds a good chills check while preparing the generator will be revealed by a yellow ore for as long as it continues to be repaired. That's another decent part that is in contestants with it. You have to hit a survivor twice with the basic attack, but that's not generally that difficult, and it lasts for 30 seconds. Huntress's Lullaby is decent. It gets rid of skill checks. Sounds. Is it oppression? Did they rework this? Overchecks the doctor's perk. Which, I mean, technically could. Well, no, you have to kick the kick the generator. Unnerving presence. That's what it is. It's not overwhelming presence, it's unnerving presence. Survivors repairing or healing within your tear radius suffer from the following effects. Increase trigger odds of skill check by 10%, decrease success zone of skill checks. This is what I'm talking about. Unnerving presence. As opposed to say my name, they'll be met with more skill checks. If they miss the skill check, the survivor will scream and become exhausted. The reason why I say this is nerfed because there are other perks like it that now perform better, and you don't have to necessarily purchase or go any way out of your way to pick up this new skill. If a survivor misses a skill check, the generator itself is going to pop. And then the exhaustion for only 5 seconds is kind of could be extended. Because if the if the killer is not near you, then all they're gonna simply do on their way coming over, your exhaustion's gonna go away, and then they're just gonna come up. It's gonna be a regular chase. If you ain't already dipped when you seen that exhaustion status effect. So you could go out of either end. Met with more skill checks is a good start, but you can either keep it a base perk and kinda, add more things in and balance it, or you can make it another hex type perk, and then you can really up the ante, That's up to you. For a regular perk, I would give them more skill checks, and if they miss the skill check, I would make them exhausted for a minimum of 30 seconds. Me personally, I would make it a full 60 seconds worth of exhaustion. Because boom, the generator's gonna explode. But if the killer's not in the area, or not currently in a chase, or anything like that, they're gonna have to walk over to you, then a chase is gonna begin. Being punished for bad play is fine, but being punished for good play is kind of a meh, because you're doing good, you're getting punished. But if you're doing bad and you're getting punished, it's kind of a, tit for tat, kind of a good player type of moment. So I would actually increase that exhaustion effect to about, if you want to be kind-hearted, even 15 seconds is good enough, because that's more than enough time for a killer to get to them, and for them not to, let's say, immediately sprint burst away, or use another perk like that. I just thought about what I said because I forgot that he changed it if the survivor is in the killer's terror radius instead of out. I was thinking of the old perk. Using the old perk where you're out of the terror radius and increasing this to what I said just previously is how I would run that perk. If you're in the killer's terror radius and you elect to still be repairing gens, which a lot of people repair gens to the last second, there should be some sort of punishment. I would still, at the bare minimum, if you're in terror radius and you're still working on that gen, and then you manage to miss a skill check on top of that, one, the closer the killer gets, possibly incorporate more spell or skill checks like that, or if they miss a skill check while in terror radius, which I mean this will probably have an increase and all everything like that, make them exhausted for a good, duration of a chase. I'd say a good 20 seconds. Because I mean, after that 5 seconds of exhaustion, whatever exhausted perks that they have, if they're not immediately sprinting away and things like that, you can recover that as you're being chased. If a killer comes around the corner after you blow that and you drop a pallet, or pre-drop a pallet, and then sit a little bit, you can recover about a second, or you hop through a window. Or if you drop a god pallet, you can cover all 5 seconds. Or if you're running Kill Shack, you can run through, jump that window, which gives you a couple of seconds, because then now the killer has to either climb through or walk around, and then you can keep completing that loop. So I'd increase that to a good like 15 seconds or so. Maybe even more, maybe even less. The whole purpose of it is the survivor elected to stay around while the killer was in that area and then missed a skill check. They should be punished. Definitely for that. But I would also make it when the survivor's not in the killer's radius and do what I previously said. Like I said, just said in the beginning, I'm not saying do this or anything like this. All things listed are just my opinion. Take it with a grain of salt. I'm not demanding anything, I'm just suggesting. For everybody here, this is the Candyman Killer. This is going to be an alternative for Freddy. If you think anybody else or any other type of other killers fit this better, feel free to leave a comment. Let me know. I might just change it. Thank you guys. Supplement your lifestyle. And let's get this alternative killers pushed. Bye-bye.